Welcome back. With a look now at Michael Jackson's musical legacy, I'm joined by legendary Canadian concert promoter Donald Tarleton, known in the business as Donald K. Donald. Hello, thanks for talking to us today.
Greetings and good morning.
Good morning. Now, Jackson is known certainly as one of the greatest stage performers of our time. Having seen him on the stage several times, numerous times, what would you say it was about Jackson on stage that mesmerized his audiences?
Well, he was a great talent. He was one of the most creative artists there were in expressing himself. Great dancer, great singer, great performer. He had a lot of charisma and a lot of magic, you know. The kind of charisma that Michael Jackson has, if you could bottle it, he'd become a zillionaire.
What was he like to work with?
Well, I had some brief encounters with him. I met him in the dressing room after or prior to shows. He was always cordial. He was always very, very professional. He was full of mischief, had a great sense of humor, and a man in motion. He was always on the go and movement and jumping up and down and singing and chanting. He couldn't wait to get out stage. He loved his audience, and his audience loved him.
Now, it was said that he could often be spontaneous at his performances, and at the 1984 concerts that you handled in Montreal, it caused some technical difficulties or technical issues. Was he tough to handle sometimes?
No, I never experienced any problems dealing with Michael. We had a slight incident just at the start of the show when one of the big LED screens didn't go on, and the prospect of presenting Michael Jackson to 75,000 people at the Olympic Stadium without the big screens certainly was petrifying to me. But the problem got fixed. It was a magic trick at the beginning of the show, had some fireworks expressed to it, and Michael appeared in midair. And when that fireworks went off, it damaged the computer screen, but the technicians were able to fix it in about 30 seconds, probably the longest 30 seconds of my life. And voila, there was Michael Jackson, his glove and his charisma on the big screen, and one of the great shows of all time at the Olympic Stadium.
Now, the current promoters behind the concerts in London that, of course, are not going to happen are giving those fans either a full refund or they get to keep the concert tickets as a souvenir. What do you think of that strategy, and how would you have handled it were you the promoter?
I think they've got it right under control. Most of the tickets today are sold by credit card, and so they can reimburse people in full if that's their preference. I believe that all insurance policies would require producers to mitigate expenses to whatever degree they can, and so the concept of the souvenir ticket, if people would rather keep the souvenir ticket, which was designed by Michael Jackson, is an interesting one. It's at the customer's option. I, for one, believe in souvenirs and would want to keep a treasure of a Michael Jackson designed ticket for the concert that never happened.
What was it like to put together a Michael Jackson tour or a Michael Jackson concert when you compare him to other, mega superstars? Or what kind of work does it take?
Well, Michael Cole was the actual producer after Chuck Sullivan used Michael to salvage the tour and save the tour and turn it into a profitable venture. I was just involved in some of the Canadian dates, and they were just an incredible experience, an incredible joy. It was the Jackson's Victory Tour broke the mold and introduced the world to the destination resort type of mega concert with all the paraphernalia that went with it, from souvenirs to media hype to specials in all the newspapers. And it was certainly the first of the great mega tours, which was the forerunner of Pink Floyd and the forerunner of the Rolling Stones and the forerunner of the kind of shows that exist today, where you sell out stadiums and you sell out gigantic fields and you have concerts which live in the memory bank of the patrons forever and ever.
Decades from now, how do you think Michael Jackson will be remembered?
Well, I think he will be remembered as probably the most creative artist of our time. His music will live forever, and the interesting life he led, and up until the 90s, he was just a great creative performer with a few idiosyncrasies. After the 90s, the media exposure and the pressure of being on the top created some interesting little scenarios and side bits, but but they will never replace the fact that Michael Jackson created some of the greatest music of all time, created some of the greatest performances, and was a genuine person who lived for his audience. I mean, an interesting tidbit was when we did the show at the Olympic Stadium, the spontaneity of Michael Jackson was interesting. On the van ride back to the hotel, he ordered the drivers to stop, and he got up with a boombox on top of the roof of his van and actually danced the moonwalk to an audience of about 500 people. When the police came, everyone thought it was an imposter, but it was the real Michael Jackson. The police came and eventually he headed back to the hotel. But that kind of spontaneity, good sense of humor, and let's have some fun at this was a trademark of his career. And the greatest performers and the most creative performers of all time will live in our psyche forever. You know, that we think of Elvis Presley, we think of Michael Jackson, and we think of John Lennon, and that's three of the greatest artists of all time who have influenced our lives forever and ever, from fashion to our musical appreciation to our joy of entertainment industry.
Legendary Canadian concert promoter Donald Tarleton, thank you so much for talking to us today.
My pleasure. Michael.